Neil, delighted to be chatting with you, with Steve Evans sitting next to me.
Hi Neil, pleased to meet you.
Steve. Hello, Steve.
How are you doing? How's life in Donegal?
Omagh.
In Omagh? That's what I thought.
County Tyrone.
Do you know what? It was with the bad reception when we were chatting last night. Yeah. I've written down the wrong place.
Yeah, Terry, thank you for having us on.
Pleasure.
Yeah. No, the reception's a lot better tonight. Dermot Dyke fixed everything up.
Good man. So tell me you owe him a pint.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's all good. Thank you.
Good. Neil, before we talk about your book, The 50 Greatest Goal Scorers, tell us a bit about yourself, what you do outside of writing. You working in the NHS?
Yeah. I suppose it's weird because I kind of keep that of a bit of a mystery because the way everybody knows everything now. I kind of kept that of a bit of a mystery. I didn't say what I did. But I'll tell you and Steve, Terry.
Nobody else will be watching, don't worry.
Thanks. Thank you. I work part-time in administration in NHS and part-time on checkouts in Asda.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So that's it, really.
That's a good career between a writer and NHS and Asda. Do you call it the Asda where you are, like we do in Liverpool, the Asda? I'm off to the Asda.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we don't really tap our backside. You know the way we don't do that right here.
You tell us about your book then. When did you start off writing?
I suppose, Terry, I had the idea maybe 25 years ago because I found an old floppy disk upstairs and
5 1/4. 5 1/4.
Sorry?
The 5 1/4.
Yeah. No, do you know those floppy disk things? I think I must have taken from the office stationery store. I wrote types some of the stuff up and had John Aldridge and Aldo in it, Rushy and Jenny Greaves. Oh. But when I started to do this book over a year ago in 2020, I didn't refer to the floppy disk because I didn't want it to be influenced by what I've done previously because I was probably a different person and different writer maybe.
Yeah.
So I just started from scratch really.
Okay.
And putting together the 50. In the end, there's over 150 goal scorers in the book.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. I was going to ask that question later, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. I didn't want to leave anybody out, Steve. I was very fearful of leaving anybody out. So I'll even left a part at the end of the book where you can rank your favourite goal scorers. Not the best, not maybe, but just your favourites. So there's 50 profiles and there's about 150 guys all featured. But there's a bit at the end of the book where you can put your top 10 personal favourite goal scorers you've seen play over the years.
Yeah. Well, what criteria did you use for the selection of the 50 greatest goal scorers?
Yeah, well, I suppose I had to define the definition of a goal scorer, like somebody whose just sole purpose is to be on the field to score goals and do it prolifically. And I know you were thinking, Terry, how you decide which 50 to include.
Yeah.
Like, and if I had to go back now, would it change my mind over any of them?
Yeah.
And I suppose the two obvious ones that I didn't include in the 50 would be Cristiano Ronaldo and Mo Salah.
Yeah.
And I suppose Ronaldo really wasn't in our game long enough. He hasn't featured in our game long enough.
True.
Even though his record is, unique. And Mo Salah, I probably favoured a few guys who'd played longer in the Premier League era compared to Mo. But then I was thinking, if I put in Mo and Ronaldo, who'd I leave out? Yeah. And only two they could have left out maybe would have been Kenny Dalglish and John Charles.
Yeah.
But I had to put Kenny in because he scored so many goals. It's just he was so good at everything else.
Yeah.
And then even though John Charles was a centre-back as well as being a centre-forward, he's the only goal scorer in the history of Italian and English football to be the top scorer in Serie A and the top flight in English football for a season. So nobody else has done that apart from John Charles. So he had to go in.
Yeah.
By definition, he's a goal scorer.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So where did you start then? What era did you start in? How far did you go back? Because that must have been a difficult one. Did you go pre-war or did you come, post-war or?
Yeah, right back to the beginning, Steve, because the opening of the book is said about how even the goal posts came into being. There's a fellow from Liverpool, Brody. He invented all the goal nets. I found that out. And then I thought, the first 3 seasons of English League football, there was no goal nets. So I ran right back to the very beginning. The first player, Steve Bloomer, the great Steve Bloomer was the first one. Then lead up to people like George Campsell and Dixie Dean, Tommy Lorton. So it's this book split into 4 sections, really, that golden age of goal scoring, then the 50s and 60s, the 70s and 80s, and then the Premier League. I didn't want to just be all about modern day goal scorers. That's why I split into different sections. So every player and every kind of era of football was represented. Not just English players. There's about a handful of overseas guys, and there's a lot of Scottish, Welsh, and Irish guys in there as well. No, it goes right back to the very start, 3 centuries of football.
I started reading it yesterday, and to be honest, I was fascinated by that particular fact that there was no goals. And the guy who sort of invented the goal post, didn't he have a patent on this? He owned the rights, to the patent or the goal posts or the goal net, as we say.
Yeah, it's incredible that he had to actually get a patent. I think it was taken up by the Football Association. Then the Football League adopted it. It was only introduced about September 1891. Like I say, the first 3 seasons of league football, there was no goal nets. So you could never mind VAR now. Can you imagine the disputes they had if there wasn't goal?
Yeah.
And even before, it's crazy, like, but there was no. But the weird thing I found out as well, that the width of the goal has always been the same since the 1860s. The width of the goal has never changed, which is incredible. The width of the football goal between each post, the far post and near post, has not changed in all that time. That's the one thing that has not changed in football.
Yeah, well, constant. We had a chat with we've chatted with a couple of writers on football, and one of them was telling us about the offside law, that it was absolutely obscure. The original offside rule, nobody in the world could ever understand it. It was ridiculously complicated.
Yeah, even that, Terry, I suppose you could say the golden age of goal scoring was in the 1920s, 1930s, because they changed the offside law then around 1925, whereby, instead of having 2 or 3 players near you, it was only 2, I think.
Yeah.
So that's why there's, even from that stage in 1920s, 1930s, a lot of club records are still going. Like, look at Dixie Dean, George Council, even Gordon Hodgson, who played for Liverpool. A lot of records from that time are still going. Yeah, the offside law really did benefit the goal scorer.
Yeah. There was goal hangers then, as we used to call it at school.
Goal hangers is right. Yeah. Goal hangers.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? You can remember, you used to call them, didn't you? He's a goal hanger. He's not good for anything else, and that was, you'd be stuffed when we start playing offside,
Yeah.
Because we used to have games as kids. I don't know if you had the same, where we're not having an offside rule today. So it was like that back in the day, wasn't it?
You're right, Steve. When we were at school, we played football. We didn't have. There was no such thing as offside. The way we settled things at our primary school was, if we weren't too sure if it was a goal, that you'd say to the team then, okay, it's either a goal or a penalty. So obviously, if they weren't getting a goal, they take the penalty. If they scored as the penalty, then they were given the goal. If they didn't, the goal wasn't allowed. But I'm not too sure what you guys did, but that's what we did.
Yeah. We used to play a game called overhead height as well. But when overhead height was a free kick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was always determined, of course, by how tall the goalkeeper was.
Yeah, true. Yeah. If you had Peter Crouch in goal, it's not good.
Yeah, it was always debatable, that one, wasn't it? With whoever you had on the pitch. If someone's dad was playing, you were all stuffed, weren't you?
Yes, I know. I like fellas that forgot about overhead height.
What kind of research did you do for the book, Neil?
Well, I did it all in the library, really, Terry. Yeah. And then I'd old, because I don't have a computer at home. And then I did a lot of old football books that my auntie and my mum would have given to me at Christmas time. Old football books, really library research, and then just a lot of old football, internet, of course. Like how anybody wrote books pre-internet, I don't know. But it was all that. And it was constantly checking. It really was constantly checking. You'd find you're always kind of questioning the source. One great source was LFChistory.net.
Okay.
Not just for Liverpool players, but also players who have left Liverpool and then came back and scored again. Like Ted McDougall, who's in the book. He never played for the Reds. He's obviously a substitute, and back in the days, there's only one sub, or even no sub. And Ted, it gave his goal. I found out that he had scored 3 goals against the Reds once he left us,
Yeah.
So things like that. LFC history was a fantastic. Now, there's some great websites out there, but you really have to dig at times. But I did rely a lot on old football books.
Okay.
It's amazing, isn't it? You know how much research goes into it. Did you manage to speak to any players about their experiences or anything like that, or was it just purely research?
No, it's purely research, Steve.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe it's too shy just to approach anybody like that. No, it was just purely research. Hey, you do spend as much time researching and checking as you do writing. You know, I found that. Yeah. But it was just really about you want to give these guys as much coverage as you could, because like there's a guy called David Halliday, and I didn't know that he's the only player in the history of English football to be top scorer 4 consecutive seasons. In each of those seasons, he scored over 30 goals. Not even Jimmy Greaves or Shearer or Rushy or Dixie Dean has done that. Dave Halliday. Sometimes people call him Dave Halliday. Some call him David. He's dead now. He went on. Funny enough, he went on to manage Aberdeen, and he was the first guy to win the league with Aberdeen long before Alex Ferguson did.
Okay.
Incredible.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
No, Neil, now that the book's out there and it's live, are you getting any feedback? Are you getting any reaction from the players that you've named in the book?
Yeah, well the best one which Terry, I was like Steve mentioned there, I was totally made up about was Aldo.
Oh, yeah.
Aldo mentioned it on his Twitter.
Brilliant.
And that meant more to me than selling like 1,000 copies.
Yeah.
You know, that is just beautiful. Aldo recognised. You know, that I wish I'd put him in the front cover now. but because when you think about it, Aldo, a modern day goal scorer, he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Yeah.
He scored more goals than anybody else in post-war British football. He scored more goals than Greaves, Shearer, Rush, Dennis Law, them all. He doesn't get the credit.
We were privileged to have a chat with him in Steve a couple of weeks ago, and he did say to us, it's as though the records didn't exist before the Premier League began. They're sort of pushed under the table, pushed apart before the big money moved in.
That's right, Terry. Tony Cotty made that point as well, that because he didn't get 100 Premier League goals, people forget that he scored over 200 in the top flight. And it's the same with Aldo. People just almost dismiss it, just because he didn't score. Another guy people forget sometimes is Bob Blatchford, Everton. Oh, yeah. Even back to Southampton, Ron Davis, all these great goal scorers. And a Man United player called David Hurd. It's just these guys are sometimes dismissed because they didn't play during the Premier League. And they scored more goals. They scored more goals as well.
Yeah. John Aldridge was, you could hear it in his voice and the way he felt about it, that he was absolutely gutted that since 1992, the formation of the Premier League, it may as well have been forgotten. That nobody wanted to know anyone before that. It's all about in the history of the Premier League. And I would be really miffed if I was him as well. Yeah.
To be fair to, you're right, Steve. Aldo's right. To be fair to Gary Lineker, he does refer times to that there was football before the Premier League. Because I think Lineker's last season in football was probably the last season of the Premier League, and he went to Japan then. But no, for some reason it is dismissed, and really most of the goal scorers in the Premier League, apart from Shearer, maybe Harry Kane, they haven't got the 200 league goals like people like Aldo did. Yeah.
So
Steve,
did you? Yeah, go on.
I love the background of the Liverpool Bird building.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a lovely photo. Yeah. I've got a few like that. I keep changing them. I was gonna ask about Terry's background actually, which is your cover of your book. Who designed that? Did you do it yourself? Did you?
Yes. Funny. That's the first thing that came to us. I always wanted blues. Maybe it's just a bit of sentimentality, like Liverpool, and my background and everything. I always wanted blue skies, green grass, and maybe a goalposts. And then I've always had in mind those 5 players: Harry Kane, left to right, Rushy, Jimmy Greaves in the middle, Dennis Law and Alan Shearer, and then the guy at the publishing place, Jag, put in the crowd and everything, and he did all the fancy bits. But the weird thing was, Steve and Terry, I always had this image of, I wanted a black and white photograph of Jimmy Greaves because I saw this brilliant black and white photograph, but I thought would make the ball orange. So, but he kept the ball orange in colour, but kept the rest of Jimmy Greaves in black and white.
I like that image.
Set it off better. Yeah. But then Jimmy Greaves died. And then it seemed even more poignant that Jimmy Greaves was in black and white with the orange ball, and then he died. Then I think it was a sign of God that I stopped researching or I stopped I adding stuff onto the book when Jimmy Greaves died on the 19th of September. I said I'll just put stuff in the book that all this information is correct as that 19th of September.
Okay.
And then, of course, then just over a week later, Roger Hunt died.
Yeah.
Sir Roger.
Your uncle would have played him, of course, then, Terry.
He would have done, in the 60s, yeah. He left Liverpool in 1964. So, yeah, he was there for 10 years, played with Sir Roger.
Yeah.
One of the greatest players that's ever played. Oh, that leads me to a leading question. You're talking about Jimmy Greaves. Who, in your opinion, was the greatest ever goal scorer?
But I suppose I'd say the British guys. I always thought when I was a kid that Gert Muller was the greatest goal scorer, the bomber, Gert Muller, and he died recently as well. But I suppose John Aldridge, Jimmy Greaves, Dixie Dean. Yeah, John Aldridge, Jimmy Greaves, Dixie Dean. But even somebody like David Halliday, who I didn't know much about, and nobody seems to know much about except maybe people in Scotland or some fans of Sunderland, but no, Aldo, Greaves, Dixie Dean, maybe those are the three greatest of all time.
Yeah, what a lineup, eh?
If those three guys played up front, but it was difficult as well leaving out somebody like Billy Little, because Billy Little scored over 200 league goals, but I suppose he's more of a winger. That was the thing, or even George Best, leaving him out as well. But they were kind of more like wingers.
It's a tough call, isn't it? It's a tough call. I mean, have you got players in that list that maybe you don't personally like, but you knew you had to include them? Did you have that quandary?
Like Ronaldo.
Funny, Ronaldo. I didn't include him in the end.
Glad you left him out.
Even though his numbers are exceptional, Ronaldo. Not really, Steve, because as I was profiling each goal scorer, a wee picture of them, and you almost get to know them. You get to delve into their backgrounds, and even if you didn't know much about them, you kind of grow to like them, even if they've played for clubs who scored against your team over the years. You kind of have some sort of affection for them because they meant so much to their own supporters, and the goals that they scored, especially the pre-war goal scorers, because people didn't have really much to look forward to apart from going to the match. But no, I think everybody's included have some kind of affection for. Although sometimes over the years they've scored goals against Liverpool, like Cantona. Cantona's not included, but I did mention him because of his contribution.
His influence,
His influence, exactly.
Neil, what's the next? I'm thinking of your next book. You're going to do the 50 greatest midfielders, the 50 greatest goalkeepers.
Goalkeepers.
What have you got lined up? What are you working on?
No, swear to God, Terry, I think that's it. If in a perfect world, I'd love to write a book, something about, I don't know what you guys do, but about 50 greatest movie stars or something like that. But that's what I love Michael Caine, and I had to get him in the book because he of course starred in Escape to Victory, and he had a talking scene with John Walk. Remember Walk? He used to play for Ipswich, Liverpool. So,
great footballer, not such a good actor. That's Sylvester Stallone there, didn't he? I remember reading the reports when you were making that film. He said, what a great goalkeeper he is. And it was all bullshit, it's just publicity for the film. He probably didn't know what soccer was.
No, I don't think so.
He wouldn't have a clue.
No, he didn't have a clue. Hey? Pelé was in it, and Ozzy Ardiles, and Bobby Moore.
Yeah, there was a good cast of footballers, really, wasn't there, in that film?
And I'm always interested if that film was made now, who would be in it? I don't know. But
I think you are actually a Liverpool fan as well, are you?
Yeah, Steve. Aye.
I thought so. I just thought to check. Obviously, I haven't had the benefit of Terry talking to you, so Terry knows you a bit more than I do. So
yeah. Oh no, definitely red eye. Even now, as we're talking, I suppose we're all kind of thinking about tonight at the same time.
Yeah, Arsenal. Yeah.
What
reaction have you had from other football supporters from other teams? Have you getting any feedback yet? I know your Twitter account it's going to grow, isn't it? We know this. As people get the more publicity. But have you had feedback already from other club footballers, supporters?
I suppose I have. I suppose people might kind of know, even though I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm very fair-minded. Like, because of total appreciation of all the great goal scorers. Doesn't matter which club they played for. And I think people are fascinated by the great goal scorers maybe they didn't know much about. They probably find those goal scorers more interesting because it is a bit like old movie stars. We didn't know much about those people, but the old goal scorers people are fascinated by, because even if they didn't know the name, when they see their goal scoring record, they're so impressed by their figures. Like people like Steve Boomer, Dixie Dean, or Hughie Gallagher, their figures kind of go beyond everything. Their goal scoring statistics, and then people realize that these guys scored maybe twice as many goals as what the people did now. It was incredible.
I was just going to ask. I mean, obviously you're in Ireland there. I mean, do you manage to get to many games at all, or do you just have to concentrate? You do.
I was Northern Ireland, Steve. Yes. What we started going on school trips in the 1980s, and then I suppose our most regular period was just after Kenny left, 91, and then when Souness and then Roy Evans, we used to get over to maybe about 7 or 8 games a season. And we stood in the cup and everything before 94 and everything, and then but the last few years, to be honest, we haven't been over to as many games. It's just the cost and getting tickets, which is good. But no, but I want to ask you guys, Steve and Terry, when was your first match? What was your first match?
Mine was Liverpool versus Wolves at Anfield in the 60s. Roger Hunt scored the only goal. And I was just amazed by the colours. When I went into the stadium, I was just amazed at the brightness of the green grass and the contrast of Liverpool in red and Wolves in the gold strip.
Yes.
And it was just amazing. I couldn't see half the game because I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I was with my uncle. And the only bit I saw is when he scored, and I jumped up and I saw him running around like, yay, celebrating. So I missed the actual goal, but it was just a treasure to be there. It was great to be there. That was my first game.
Hey, Steve, were you there when we won the league in '73, when Shanks went round the ground?
I wasn't at the game. I was at home. I was at home then. But,
That's incredible. I love the idea that you saw Roger Hunt play.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he was my favourite player as I was growing up, Roger. And he's the one guy I wanted to meet. I know I've been in a fortunate position to meet a lot of Liverpool players and former players, but Roger Hunt was the one I wanted to meet, and I never had the opportunity. And I was hoping to, and then of course, bang, he passed away, didn't he? But
Roger passed away last September.
Yeah, cracking guy from all accounts as well, But he didn't like it. He wasn't really into the limelight. He used to keep himself to himself pretty much,
Yeah, you can kind of understand that. No, I love Sir Roger.
That's cool.
What
was your game, Terry?
I want to be honest, I can't remember. My dad took me to go watch my Uncle Jimmy playing at Anfield. I think I vaguely remember as a 4-year-old, scared of the noise, the strong smell of the grass. And I got this memory of how high the ball was kicked up into the air. I think I was just amazed watching the ball going skyward. But the first game I went to by myself I was in the boys' pen. Liverpool were playing Huddersfield. I think I was about 10, so it would have been about 1970. I think Huddersfield had just been promoted to their then first division. And the first game of the season, we beat them 4-0. But apart from that, I think I nearly broke my neck trying to escape from the boys' pen into the cop, trying to climb over. Get myself
fantastic.
Yeah, I think it cost me threepence to get in. I think.
Yeah.
So what's been your favourite game then, Neil, or your best memory on?
Well, the first Merseyside derby we were at, we beat Everton 3-1 at Anfield, but we knew Everton were going to win the league that year, 86-87, and Russia equalled Dixie Dean's record. But that was an incredible atmosphere. Istanbul, we were at Dortmund against Alves in 2001 against Alves. That was fantastic. Another favourite game. It's funny. Even when we were finished 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th in the early 90s, so we had some great games at Anfield. The 3-3 against Man United, the 2-1 against Everton, the last match in front of the Kop. Let's see, the Stevie G one against Olympiacos, 2004.
Yeah, I was there.
Just all these games come floating back into your head.
Yeah,
I'm sure it must be the same for you.
It
There was
is.
some great games in the 90s. Like you say, we may have ended up 6th, 7th, or 8th in the league, but you get those great games against Newcastle, the 4-3s, games like that. They were absolutely brilliant, weren't they? You know,
Yeah.
you score 3, we'll score 4. You know,
we have to mention Robbie Fowler as well.
Oh yeah,
Robbie Fowler.
You know, you can leave some people out.
I
You know,
know.
it must have been difficult. How'd you leave some out?
That's why I had to just include 150, Steve. Even if they weren't in profiles, I just mentioned them in the book. So I was very conscious not leaving anybody out. And even at the end, I put a bit where people who didn't quite make it. People like remember Kevin Hector?
Oh yeah, Derby County. Yeah,
Derby County. He was one of the guys maybe who nearly made it. Or somebody even like Martin Shivers at Spurs, who scored a lot of goals. Or even Derek Dugan.
Wolves player.
Course,
Wolves.
Wow.
The dog.
Wolves. The
dog.
The dog. That's right. The dog. That's right. Guys like that, great goal scorers.
Neil, do you know what? Really, I think. Well, I'm sure Steve would agree. We could happily talk all night about this. Talk for a couple of hours.
Be easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Be easy. Yeah.
Neil, do you fancy having another chat when you get your next book out?
To be honest, Terry, I don't think we'll do the next book.
50 greatest movie stars next.
Yeah,
we'll be talking about.
John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
Terry, thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. And I hope we go okay tonight.
Yeah, touch wood. Yeah.
Let's hope it's a good one tonight. It's been great chatting to you, Neil. Yeah, good to get
thank
to
you,
know
Steve.
you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, let's keep in touch.
God bless, fellas.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye, Neil.